la physique. Karine. Okay, can you open your hands like that? Yes. Yes. That's beautiful. How beautiful the smoke coming out of the hair. Hello, so I'm Karine Ancellin, and today I have with me Xristina Amancaya, who is the author of this magnificent book, Birth as You Please. It was published in January of this year, and we're very happy to have Xristina in this beautiful setting here in Athens, Greece. Xristina, you started with a ritual. Can you tell us about that ritual? Yes, so in the Andes, in Bolivia, in Peru, they use Palo Santo, and every time there is something new, let's say a new house, a new car, or in this case a new book, they call it chayar, which is to bless it with the perfume. So when did you decide or fathom writing your own book, and how did you first imagine the creation of Birth as You Please? So the idea of Birth as You Please started when I was when my son was around less than a year old, and I was living back then in Toronto, and I was painting. I was doing birth arts of different mothers, and so I decided to make a project to connect the stories of different mothers around the world instead of painting them individually. But how did you decide to have different mothers? How did that idea germinate? So it was a work in progress. It wasn't like one, just one thought at a time. It's because my life is in different parts of the world. I kind of, and the moment that I had the idea of the book, I was living in Bolivia. I thought that it was very, interesting for the world to connect to the ancestral practices, birth giving, like wisdom that the traditional midwives in Bolivia have. But I also felt the importance of seeing different stories from around the world, like in the modern world. And that's how, after having given birth to your own son? Yes. Mm-hmm. And did you feel that the birth of your son was a very defining moment for you in your life?
It was because I got pregnant when I was in Bolivia. In the first months, I felt so lost, and I didn't know where I want to give birth, how, with whom. I had so many questions, and my reaction to that uncertainty is to start asking questions to other mothers. So then I decided to go to Canada and give birth there, and and still I was very frightened and very insecure and all that. Uh, so then I got empowered by reading a lot of birth stories from other books, other authors, and I found that okay, yes, I can. I found somehow the strength to birth my son in a normal way without medication in an unmedicated way and with a midwife. But then through my personal experience, I realized that not everybody has that same option. So it really depends where you live.
Yes.
The options are more or less depending on your context, your social context, your cultural and your geographic context as well.
And that's how Birth as You Please is going to open people's awareness on the different options that exist in the world, not only in Greece or in Bolivia, but then they have an outline and they can choose to birth naturally, as you did.
Yeah. Well, the point of in the book, it's not just birth stories with natural births. There are stories with C-sections. I wanted, even the title of the book, Birth as You Please, I think it's birthing person can decide if a birth is, if a, a woman wants to give birth in the hospital, but it's her decision. That's how she births as she pleases.
Sometimes the medical corpse takes over. Like I read the story of Delphine Stika Singh in your book, and she didn't want to have the C-section, but she was forced into it.
She was forced into it, but I think I remember she was also saying that it's okay for the C-section to happen when there is a
danger,
emergency. So it's good to have the option because there are the two extremes. Sometimes in some parts of the world they birth at their homes. Women, mothers, they just give birth by themselves, and if there's an emergency, as in the story of Marcella in Lake Titicaca in the island of the moon, they had to bring a doctor with a boat, over the Lake Titicaca to go and help you. And so she birthed at home, but without, that immediate access in case of emergency. So I think the idea is to have both, like to be at your home, but also have that.
Yes,
that access
that
to
security. There's a health proxy in case of. So before we go to the artist in you, on which I'm going to stay a long time, I want to know your relation to writing. Do you love to write? Have you started writing young?
Yeah, I always, since I'm, I think, a teenager, I always like to record my thoughts. And
do you keep a journal to this day?
I do, yes, I do. And also, I also had a blog, and I was more, like 10 years ago, maybe it was more social and political, but I like more the more intimate thoughts.
The relation to yourself.
Yes.
So now we want to know about the artist in you. How did you start painting?
So the first, I was an adult when I first, had a canvas in front of me, and I was. My inspiration came from the 1 year when I was living to Mexico City, where I saw Frida's art. Frida Kahlo's art and other painters. And then when I was living in Spain, I got an easel.
Idol, yes.
An easel it's called, or a caballete in Spanish. And I started painting my family, and yeah. So I was around 23 or 24 years old, and I'm a self-taught painter.
Was your family supportive of you, of your artistic talents? Are they artists in your family?
No, but one of the brother of my grandmother, he was a painter, and there is an aunt and a cousin that they're also painting, but not. They're also self-taught painters.
And your direct family, did they encourage your creative talents?
They liked, like whenever I would paint them, they would like, their portraits. But,
so, you dedicate the book to your mother and to your son. Do you have a special connection to these two beings?
Of course, yes. Like my mother gave birth to me, so I'm very grateful. Without her, I wouldn't be here talking. So it's kind of my thank you for the life she has given me. And to my son, I'm grateful because also that creation, that inspiration, is because of him.
How is it because of him? Because of the birth of him?
Because because the process of being pregnant, of giving birth, of raising him, kind of pushed me to be a better person, or to be more truthful to what I like to do. So in that sense, I'm grateful. I really enjoyed him being around when I was painting, when I was creating those stories.
I want to find the picture of you in the bath with the umbilical cord.
It's in the beginning.
At the beginning. This one. So this is the autobiographical element in Xristina's book that she was telling us about, why her son is at the basis of the inspiration. I will jump right now to the colors, Xristina. In terms of your painting, your choice of colors, they're very vivid colors. How did that come about, and what is your relation to color?
When I paint, it's very. I choose them in an unconscious way and also in an aesthetic way. Like I just see what combines better.
Those colors are amazing.
Yeah, I don't know. Like it is just. I don't have the exact answer, but I think it's my way of bringing more joy to my life and to others. I think that, well, I usually wear black, but I don't know why I use so much color in my paintings. It's at least my way of finding more colorful expression of myself.
The clouds in this painting are extraordinary. I find the colors of the clouds inside within the inside of the cloud are really amazing. It's like the cloud is pregnant. It's like a fetus in the clouds.
You see that in this one it was white initially.
Yes.
But it could have stayed white, but I kind of, maybe I wanted to be more alive, to have more of a presence.
So tell us about the process. How did you draw these magnificent portraits of the different women?
Okay, so the process, first of all, it was to find those mothers. I had to.
How did you find them?
So each one has a different story. In some cases, I had to travel in Bolivia and find, Doña Inés or Doña Leonarda, like different traditional midwives around Bolivia. In other cases, I contacted some woman virtually. In the case of Cecile, I haven't met her in person, but she trusts me her story. Others are my friends, like Anna. She's she lives in, I found the fact that she's Greek, but she lives in Russia, so she will give us the perspective of a different cultural context. And her story is very, very powerful and inspiring. So there is my sister as well. So it depends. Each story has.
Tell me, there's oftentimes symbols in your painting.
Yes.
What is that relation, or why do you cultivate those symbols? And they're all over in the book. They're represented on the side and
yes,
in the pictures.
So once I found the mothers, I had to establish a relationship with them. It wasn't just, okay, give me your story and that's it. I really wanted for them to, to also receive something from from that project. So, and that is getting them deeper in their birth story. So one of the ways of me getting closer to them is to ask them with what symbols they connected to their child during their birth.
And so we see here, these are some of the symbols that they sent you or gave you.
So I asked them to either draw them or some of them sang it. It depends however they want to express themselves. And then based on that, I created the portraits. Based on that and their birth stories, yes. And some pictures they shared with me.
And did you find that painting, the act of painting, is cathartic? Does it liberate you? Does it, once you've done a painting, what do you think?
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's when I started painting for the book, the first or the second painting it took me forever to finish because it's not the same when you paint just for yourself, and it's not the same when you paint to show, to the world. And when I finish a painting, it kind of stays with me, and it feels as if it was inside me. So yes, there is a.
And you have a special affection to certain paintings, like for instance, this one that you painted a long time ago, way before you were even going to imagine you would become pregnant one day.
Yes, there is something about the pregnant body that always inspired me. So this is my body imagining myself being pregnant. So that's why I call it prophecy.
How many years before this book?
Maybe 10 or 10 years. Yes.
Yeah. And do you have images of paintings you want to paint in your mind that wake you up at night?
Well, during that, since I painted for the book, I haven't touched the
paintbrush.
The paintbrush. It was so intense that I'm taking a break now. But during the process of the book, I wouldn't sleep, and I would because I was painting in my room. I would just stare at it, and then in the morning I would just go and create more. Yes. Sometimes some ideas came when I was just looking at it. Yeah.
And you painted during the lockdown in Bolivia. Was the lockdown in Bolivia hard, and was it stressful for you to paint in that atmosphere? How did you get the material to paint? The paintbrush, the canvas?
Well, there was a point that I was running out, and yes, everything was closed, and it was very difficult. It was a very strict confinement,
Lockdown.
and yes. So even for food, like we were being, you know, we had to really, we were worrying a lot. But it actually, that's where always say to myself that it kind of saved my, you know, it was this project helped me to move on. Like I had, well, I was raising my son, and that's also a big inspiration. But also having to create the book helped me to go through the
And
lockdown.
were you working at that time for the NGO in Bolivia?
Yes, I was working for Coordinadora de la Mujer, which is a feminist organization. Yes.
That's a lot to deal with.
Yes.
How did you manage?
I don't know. I don't know, but yes. Well, the last 3 months, I was only focusing on the book and on Yasunas, but there was a moment that I was working, I was taking care of Yasunas, and I was creating the books. It was a lot, but yeah, I think that there is a drive. There was the creative drive. Helped me.
And can you paint just about anything? Or is it a special relation to the model that you need to have to be able to paint?
I think before, when I first started, I would just paint anything just to feel that I'm creative. Now I think I need a story behind. Like I need a story to portray. I can't, like, that's why now I'm not painting too much. I only create with my son, but now I feel I need stories to portray and symbols.
To be the muse of the stories are the muse of your art.
Yes.
Is love important for painting?
I think, yeah, I mean, well, love it can take different forms, right? Yeah, it's a big inspiration.
Yes, Anaki.
Yes.
Your son. You spoke about Frida Kahlo, and I wanted to know a little bit more, for you to explore a little bit more. What are the types of painters that you admire or even emulate?
Yeah, I never had a, how to say,
An idol.
an idol, because for me painting was more a way of you know, like it was a healing path. So that's why I found more the story of Frida Kahlo in her life. I think she was painting as well to, you know, to calm her pain, and to, it was her to channel her the challenges she encountered in her life. That's why I found, maybe, like, I like the creators, painters, not that they're they have biographical inspiration. Like their life inspires them to create, or the life of others. Yeah.
When the soul of the painter transpires on the art. Do you experiment with different forms of painting? Do you draw, for instance?
I draw, yes. And when I was in Bolivia, I used to go to this, it's called the Taller Agora. Like, yes. So there would be models, but they would just pose in natural, like, so that was amazing. But I find that since I'm a self-taught painter, I think I need more, let's say,
Relation.
more practice. Yes, I think I need that. And I think it comes with time. I realized the more I painted, like there was 21 paintings, I haven't painted as much in my whole life. The more I painted, the more sure I was. I knew if there was a mistake, I can correct it. So that was very liberating.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about the evolution of your work. Do you see in the firmness of your paintbrush, or Do you see an evolution? Do you see?
I found that I was more sure and not and I could go more in the specifics and the details without being intimidated. Because in the beginning I was like, how do I do that? But then I used acrylic, not oil, because my son was around and it wasn't so easy to have the oil paint. So the fact that it dries very fast, so then if you can work around it.
Do you work around your paintings a lot? Do you change, alter?
Not so much. What I changed is the layers. Like I learned, I think that's what I learned with practice, is that how you get more real image, a real result is when you add more layers.
Okay.
More depth.
It gives physicality to the painting and it's more moving to the viewer. Oh wow. Okay. What will you do with all the original paintings that you have?
Well, I don't know yet, but I have many ideas. One of the ideas is, I don't know yet because many of the, because I feel that they have to go, some of them back to Bolivia, let's say.
Okay.
Even the book I would like to have it translated in Spanish, like all in Spanish as well.
To give back what you were given.
Of course.
It's beautiful.
The easy option is to sell them, but I think for now I want to keep them and to have them around the book, like to maybe to exhibitions.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Maybe you could do an exhibition, but then you don't want to sell them.
Later on, yes, but I feel that, and one of the ideas is I'm working now with these NGOs that they support refugee mothers, and I was thinking somehow to use that space to maybe there do the exhibition, and I don't know yet exactly. It's all there.
It sounds fertile. It sounds fecund.
Yes.
There's much to do around these paintings.
First, the world has to open, and then we'll see.
I wanted to know how you got to Bolivia. What brought you to South America? I know you went to Mexico. You told us you were painting in Mexico. What drew you? What attracted you there?
To Bolivia. Well, I was living after Mexico. I was living in Spain for 5 years, so I was always connected to Latin America. I have also lived in Colombia. So I found a job in Bolivia with an NGO, and then after that I met the father of my son, who is Bolivian. So that was the third time I went to
So the countries there that you are close to that have cradled your creativity are Mexico, Colombia, and Bolivia.
I would say yes, and even Canada, because I think everywhere. But I think I'm very connected to Bolivia because my son is half Bolivian and half Greek. So, and it's such a, how you say, like authentic input. So I really feel grateful that the book has that feeling, Bolivian feeling, I feel.
Are you a precursor, or is there a large Greek community in Bolivia, in La Paz, where you were living?
No, I didn't.
I
didn't meet many Greeks. Maybe tourists, but I haven't really. My group of people would be all Bolivian or from Argentina or Brazil.
So you're a pioneer for the Greek roots, because Greeks do travel very far, but here...
But in Bolivia there's no sea, so
yes.
It's only mountains, and you have the lake as well and rivers,
what do you resonate with in all the Bolivian culture? What are the things that really you feel connected to?
You know, when it's that connection that they have with the past. So I feel that there is no a cut. You know, sometimes here all over the world, like the modernity has just stepped into cultures and cut. There's a disconnection. I think in Bolivia that still is alive, and I could feel it when I was meeting the midwives, the traditional midwives there. That they would enter in the room and you would feel so much love and you know, I don't know, it was a very great energy. Of course, there is modernity there as well.
Mm-hmm.
They want them to work more in hospitals. They want to marry the traditional with the more modern practices. But I think the traditional and the natural, because for instance, they use a lot the plants. This is something also that I bring as a very good memory from Bolivia, is that they know how to use the earth to heal or to birth so that's something I think that we can learn from them.
They're closer to the earth, closer to their Mother Earth than we are. We've lost touch very sadly sometimes. What was the portrait you had the most difficulty with in the 21 there? And what kind of difficulties?
I think it was delphins. Because it was one of the first ones that I was more, I was creating them with less confidence and trust, I would say. And I felt that the mother, she had just given birth, so I felt that she was maybe more sensitive to the results and to the colors. So let's say this orange part, that it's like the sky. Yeah. It was much darker. I had made it, but then it was like I want more color, So I was it was challenging, but it was very insightful and very enriching the process.
And do the women guide you, or as to how did you work like that?
Yes, some of them I would always show them the process, always, and most of them wanted to know to see the process, and then at the end it's okay. I will take some days and I will show you the final, so there is a surprise. But I really wanted that they feel well as well. It wasn't my creation only. It was I found, since I was also like being a painter, it's also a lonely practice. So a way to make it more collective, it was also involved in them.
Symbiotic between you and the woman.
Yes.
Some of these paintings are strong. They're very emotionally challenging. Did you cry? Did you laugh? When you painted these? This is a detail. So the book has the full painting on this one. I adore this one personally. So there's the whole painting, and then it's cut up into smaller details.
So I think I was connected to the story a lot, but the the challenge of actually, making it made me less emotional, I think. It was because also my personal life was quite emotional about this. So that was my, let's say, the life.
Respite,
Yes.
the calm,
Yes, I would feel relief once every time I would finish one, and I would feel joy, but not so much. Let's say, well, in some cases, yes.
I'm going to go into one that must have been relatively traumatic for you, and this is Violetta.
Yes.
Violetta is the story of an unborn child. So, were you very emotional about this one?
In this one, yes. That was
Yes.
very difficult. Yeah.
And are these drops of blood, or and why this flower?
Yeah, the flower is because when the woman that went through the operation, that was her symbol for and that was a way to, to honor the unborn child.
How do you put together the symbolic and the reproduction of reality? Like, for example, this one has a score. There's a score, and then there's the woman, and that the reproduction of reality for me is, even though it's not a reproduction, but let's say this is the woman giving birth, and the score, how did that come to you, that inspiration?
So through her story, so there's also always a connection through the narration of the story and what is depicted. So she's sharing that it's Naila from Bolivia, that she was, her dream birth was to give birth singing. So,
and she did it?
She did, and actually there is a song that she sang, and I went into and I found the notes of the first part of the song. So those are supposed to be the notes of the song that she. So I always try to make it very personal to the mother's story.
And so another way you're trying to make it very personal is by including a poem.
Exactly.
So I'm going to have to ask you, what is your relation to poetry?
So I really find it as a way of expression. I have been writing on my journal sometimes when it's too much. Just words come out, and I like to write poetry sometimes. But I found that I wanted to make this book even more inclusive, more collective, and I found poetry next to painting the best expression.
And how did you do this to have a Greek writer, Julie Tsimpidis, portray in her poetry a Bolivian Marcella? How do these women connect? Is that something you were looking to? It's some kind of spiritual connection between them you were looking to enhance?
It was more. It just happened, like I would share the painting. So this happened once I was finishing the paintings. I would propose to people or find people to say, can you please look at this painting without them reading the story and be inspired to write something. So yeah, and that's why it's nice to see different parts of the world, people like a Greek writing for a Bolivian,
yes.
or even in some cases the fathers that wrote the poem for while the mother was is being depicted on the painting. This one, the poem is from Medula in Canada.
The sisters of the poem.
For two women in Bolivia.
Midwives in Bolivia.
So,
Do you have a special poetry book that inspires you that you carry around all over?
well, I like you. Can I say that I love yours? I think that yes, this is my favorite one. It's from Karine, Leno, Ancellin. Yes, I think that's my favorite one. The missing animal, yes.
And did you every time, because this one is Pamela, you talk about the father and the father, did you every time talk with both the parents, the father and the mother,
No,
for every child?
No, it was mostly the mothers. But there is one story where it's, that the father shares the story. So it's Omar, in one of the stories, is the father that he shared his story.
Find Omar.
It's helpful.
Huh? Were you looking for Omar to share his story, or did it just happen?
Well,
did you look for a man to include in the telling, in the narrative?
well, yes, because when we felt right that it was a good, that's the story for me.
Okay,
it's a good idea to give the father's perspective as well. And actually Omar just appeared out of the blue. He's like he's a doula, and
he's a doula.
Yes,
himself.
He became a doula. Like he took courses so that he can
to his child.
He can accompany his wife. So I think that's a beautiful story that can help fathers to know how to support.
The birth giving. One of the stories that really I found poignant is this one, Mother Earth. It's
that's
impressive.
Yes, so Mother Earth, it's here giving birth. One of the hands, it's the midwives. The other one is her partners, and this one is her daughters.
This one here.
So she gave birth in the U.S. on her home, and with the presence of these people.
And is this a religious element?
I think it's very spiritual. So yes, I think that's maybe from India, a bit necklace.
Indeed,
Yes.
How does it feel now that the story, the book is here, the book is a reality, and it's going out to the world, and already you're getting a lot of response, people are enthusiasts, you have many different networks that have come to be in touch with you to share the book and have it in their NGOs. How does it feel now that it's done?
It feels, I was waiting for it for a long time because the pandemic really, made everything slower. It's a big relief. I feel lots of gratitude and a sense of accomplishment. Mm-hmm. And I also have that, inner desire that it goes, that it just reaches whomever needs to encounter.
And what is your message? What is the message you're giving the world with this book?
Well, basically, what I love about this book is not, it's collective voice. It's not only my message. It is as if we gather, mothers from all over the world, and there are very many common topics. They talk about obstetric violence. They talk about how they find courage to give birth. They talk about their choices, with whom, where, and when to give birth. So my message is for mothers to ask questions. To at this moment, it's a moment of asking questions, not just receiving the information, because you are at the state that everyone wants to direct you, like either your family, the doctors. So I think it's good to ask questions and make your decisions so that you can really feel your birth as you please.
Oftentimes, the way birth is organized today, very medically controlled, sometimes the decisions of the medical corps don't really, let you birth as you please.
There are ways around. That's why this book is so. There's some of the stories. Let's say Noelia, she was told, and not only Noelia, more than one story. They're told, your only option is to give birth by C-section, but they cannot force you. They cannot cut you if you don't sign. Of course, you cannot risk the life of your baby, and they play on your fear. And that's why it's so difficult to be your own, to really, be empowered, because it's your baby, it's your life. But I think there are ways. Like, let's say you have a birth plan. What it's done a lot in Canada now, in many parts of the world, is before you give birth, you present the birth plan to your doctor.
Mm-hmm.
You tell them when you want to cut the umbilical cord.
Mm-hmm.
You tell them if you want to have a
Wow, I wish I had that in my time.
But they don't always respect it, But the more mothers do that, the more they ask how, then we can teach the doctors what they're not taught in the universities. I think that's missing.
Beautiful. I think that's a beautiful way of bringing out this book to the world. Is that it's the part that gynecologists and obstetricians don't have at their universities. This is a human part of the experience of birth giving. I think that's the most important message, and from what you tell me, I also find that it's to the young mothers of the world today, it's an advice to look forward and not just ask questions, as you say, and not just take, because sometimes we're so young. I remember being so young when I had my children. I didn't have the mind frame of thinking that there was more options than what the doctors told me.
And I also find that it's important to have a collective. Like when I gave birth, I felt very lonely, and I didn't have a community around me. So maybe this is why I wanted to involve so many voices together, because of my own story. But I would say to the new moms, or to find, there's always, you can find your community, with your community, and then it's easier together to ask for more.
So do you have an idea for another book, or are you taking some time off now?
Well, I'll take some time off, but I do have another idea, yes. I being back to my homeland, but also bringing that experience from the outside. That I find that it's kind of crucial to share more refugee stories. So I think if I ever make another book, I think it would be around that.
To close the interview, I want to invite your son virtually, because he's not here with us today, to tell us about, to close the interview, tell us about, first of all, how you chose his name and how he brightens your life every day.
So yeah, well, if you see, my name is Amancaya Xristina. My real name is Xristina, but when I was pregnant with him, I thought he was a girl. So, and I wanted to give him the name Amancaya. So at the end, I found out he's a boy, and I named him Yasuna, but I kept that name.
Where does the name Yasuna come from? Yasuna.
Yasunas is an Argonaut. He's the leader of the Argonauts. So it's a Greek name.
But you didn't stick to the Greek tradition of giving the name of your grandparents?
No, because his cousin got
Okay.
my father's name. Yes. And he brights my day, and he challenges me. He makes me laugh, cry, smile, all together. So it's I think one of the most challenging and beautiful relationships in my life.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Amancaya Xristina.
Before I close, I also want to thank you for supporting me and guiding me to make Birthdays to Please a reality. Every time I would create its portrait, your feedback was amazing. And
I want to say that I coached Xristina, so because from the beginning I believed in that idea so much. I felt that I had not given birth the way I should have given birth, because I was so young and because I was so I trusted everything, and then that idea moved me so profoundly. I was very happy to accompany Xristina.
So I made Karine's portrait as well. She's part of the book, Your Purpose Please. But not only with your birth stories, but also as a mentor. That's your baby. That's good. And your 4 birds with different symbols around the portrait. So thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much, Xristina. Thank you for being here. And we hope that this will inspire the women of the world in their new birth giving.
And thank you to Angela for hosting us
in her beautiful home in Athens. Okay,
for sure.
let's do it.
Wow. Let me see.
So that's not mine, because when I went to see Delphina, I exchanged with her. She has mine and I have hers.
That's what I was like, what's happening? Because you see, this one, I think it's better to make it smaller. It's quicker. It's a bit big, right?
No,
Like
everyone can read it.
Yes.
Okay.
I didn't say anything about that, but Xristina is so critical about everything she does.
Is this a medium?
So these are T-shirts that are available, and posters that are available as well, with the 21 paintings.
You can say canvas copies.
Canvas copies, yes.
It is as if it's the original, but it's copies, because the original is not yet. I don't know what it is.
And you see, so there's T-shirts and bags and different. So if you go on her website,
That's okay.
amancayachristina.com, right?
No, it's not it's a website. You can say you find me on social media.
Okay.
It's easy.